Okay, welcome to our fourth video, and in this video we're going to cover the bishop and the rook. Now if we look at a normal setup, let me just get that here, you'll see the rooks on the outside corners of the board, and you might notice they kind of look like the spire of a castle, and so these rooks are sometimes called castles. We're going to call them rooks because that's their proper name. So these are rooks. You might not also hear some people refer to them as the towers of power because they are very powerful pieces. And right next to the king queen, as if they are advising them, are these bishops. They are minor pieces along with the knight. All right, so we're going to talk about the rook and the bishop together. So I'm going to clear this board. Now remember from our last video when we had a queen that the queen could move in any direction for as long as she wanted, as long as she didn't run into one of her pieces or a piece of the other board, of the other players. So if you can imagine that, now if you were to add the rook and the bishop together, then you would get what the queen can do, but neither the rook nor the bishop can do all that the queen can do. So let me show you that. So if we have a rook, the rook can only move along the files and the ranks. But just like the queen, he can move as far as he wants as long as he's not blocked by one of his pieces or until he comes and takes a piece of the enemy. So if we had a knight here, this rook could come and take that knight. But if I have a pawn here, the furthest that this rook can move is up to the pawn, the square next to the pawn, and then he could move no further. So those are the rooks. They're very powerful, and we'll talk more about them in the strategy. All right, the bishops. Now, the other half of what the queen can do is move diagonally. So the bishops can move diagonally and only diagonally. And so what happens with the bishop is that you will have a dark colored squared bishop and a light colored squared bishop, because remember when we were talking about the board, diagonals always stay on the same color. So no matter where you move your light colored bishop, if it's a legal move, your light colored bishop is always going to be on the light colors. And your dark colored bishop are always going to be on the dark colors. So you have a light colored and a dark colored square bishop, and they move along the diagonals. So you can see why when we put the bishop and the, so let's pretend we have a piece here. So if we put the bishop's moves on, then we add in the rook's moves together. If you were to be able to combine their powers together, you would get the power of the queen's move, which are in any direction in a straight line along the ranks, files, and diagonals. So those are the rooks and the bishops.